All right, all things working correctly. We've got June 10th, noon, and a really interesting subject matter. This one, today I'm out here in Fenton. Sorry, you can't really see everybody out there, but I'm in Fenton, and we were just talking. What is it that we could do? What is it we need to talk about? What are we running into? What would help us? Well, what's the one primary thing that we always need? And the whole group says we need listings. All right. So listings are the name of the game. So we're going to talk about all those things. What do we need to know, and what are the conversations we can have with sellers or potential sellers? They might even be known as, prospects or suspects, right? We need to determine, are they a seller, are they a prospect, or are they a suspect? And sometimes they don't even know, and it's what we're out there for. So let's see if I can make this work for me. There we go. Now, here's just the quick preface, and everybody knows. If you want to make money, all we have to do is just go talk to people. But be skilled and knowledgeable once you get there. And today, that's a key part. Because I can go talk to a lot of people, and here's the bottom line, the reason we always say, just go talk to people. You can get real easily, very easily lucky because somebody just says, well, gee, I need to sell my house. And then you know how to fill out the paperwork and you get a listing. Today's market, we don't have to know too much about it because matter of fact, bring it back into the office, throw it on the admin's desk, Alexis here, and Alexis takes care of everything. Before you know it, a week later, you got 5 offers. And the seller goes, I want this one. And they're happy as can be, and that's all it takes to sell real estate. But it's best if you have the skills and the knowledge when you actually get there. So think of the last car you bought. Why'd you buy it from the person that you bought it from? Most of us didn't know them, but they happened to be there when we got there. And they happened to go, well, what do you want? Well, I'm looking for a car that, and it has, and they go, oh, well, we have some of those. And it wasn't that they did a great job of selling, but they asked one right question, got enough information, and happened to have in inventory the right car, of which you said, okay, I'd like this one. But it wasn't their skill or their knowledge. It was simply that they were there. So above all else, that's what we need to know. So why do I bring this up when we're talking about what can we do to convince sellers to sell? Well, because you still got to be there, but today let's build upon the knowledge and the skills. So when's the best time for a seller to sell? Now's a good time, isn't it? But if you were guiding me, if you were helping me out, when's the best time for a seller to sell? Yeah, I really, it's the best answer, and it's always the answer I give first. When you're ready. When's the best time? When you're ready. Now, if we talked about when's the best time to sell from an aspect of the time of year, and then we're having to talk about the volume of selling. What's the best time to list a home? What months? March through November. And if we even narrowed it down, probably half that. What does everybody want to be in before school starts? So we're really talking that March, April, May, June. Because I think if you're hitting July, you've probably missed most of the hot summer selling season. So I'll tell anybody, and that's some key verbiage to remember, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you really want to miss the hot summer selling season? And I think get that home on the market before the end of June. You've got until about through the second week of August. Anybody who's been in this business for a while, what happens that third week of August? And the business levels right out. Matter of fact, I believe because of the way that sports and activities around school are now, it's moved up almost to the first week of August. Football practice starts, girls volleyball, well, of course, that's one that they play all year round anyway, but we can't wait. We've got to get it on the market. But if we were to just say, well, when's the best time to sell, and we weren't talking about a time period, it would be this: when there's low interest rates. Do we have those right now? Most of you would say no, because you haven't been in the business long enough. You might not have been on the earth long enough, or you haven't been around long enough to even care. But look, interest rates, we're normal. The reality is we're normal. Where we're at are normal interest rates, okay? But it would be the time to be able to do it. Low inventory. What do we have right now? Low inventory. It is a seller's market. In some of these, they seem too obvious, but whenever there's a job relocation, potentially a job change of life is an obvious one. Growth in the home value, when they have a lot of equity. Are there a lot of homeowners right now with a lot of equity? Yeah, matter of fact, it's a change across the United States, because after the last financial fiasco and everybody lost all that, and all the homeowners were refinancing and pulling out second loans, home equity lines of credit, and found themselves totally upside down with no home equity. There's a lot of them that are saying, yeah, I don't want to do that. Now, there's a lot of it too. Interest rates are high in comparison. Downsizing. But even then, it may not make sense. And we'll probably share that a little bit more. Upsizing, because it's necessary. Inherited a home or homes, investment properties. Again, with what the market has done, there's a lot of investors that are going to look to unload some of the properties that they've picked up. How about the ability to pay cash for a new home? A lot of people have that ability, and we had someone in from Lake Michigan Credit Union in Fenton here today for a sales meeting, and he was talking basically about a number of these circumstances, these situations. But a lot of people, they have the ability, they just haven't thought about it because they got $1 million in investments. Could they pull that out and buy a home? Yes, but they just don't think that way. So we have to consider that. Here's the last one I got for you. So if you're taking screenshots, now's a good time to take a screenshot of this one. They can't afford to keep the current home. Why is it that we're not seeing a lot of foreclosures? Everybody has equity. So if you have a change in life where you've lost income and you can no longer afford your home, you can't afford all the payments that you have, what do? They sell the house, because they really don't have any other options. Now, might you go out and help them as far as trying to determine if they have other options? Yeah, that's a great idea. It's what we do as realtors, is guide and consult people. It may or may not. There may be another way for them to be able to do it. All right. So let's do this. Reasons to sell now. So there is a difference. The interest rates are lower and comparatively reasonable. Now, this is a hard one to try to get a seller to understand. But wow, it's been that long. I'm 65. I'm 65, and I got into business 1987. What do you think the interest rates were at? 10 to 15%. Yeah. Logan goes, I wasn't alive. I didn't think so. So we talk about, well, yeah, but interest rates. Look, I got into it on the downslope. The interest rates, for the most part, were between 11 and 13%. We talk about concessions today, and those concessions were applied not toward closing costs, but to buy down the interest rate. because you might be able to take something at 11 and buy it down to 9. That was a smart thing to be able to do. But I'm selling at that time period, it was probably 15 to 20 homes a year, and I still didn't know what I was doing. Work, that's a key part. Talk to people. Anyway, interest rates, they're comparatively low. I mean, let's face it. All of us know about 2 3/4, 3, 3.5. There's a whole lot of people in between that 2 3/4 and 4%, right? That's something we've got to deal with, but that in their mind, those are what the interest rates are supposed to be at. We have to understand their mindset. Pent-up demand. There are buyers that are out there. I'll give you more here in a second that proves this. Is it really a hot market? Or are we down 25% from 2020? The number of sales, by the way, it's down 25% from 2020. Now, I don't call that a hot market. That's a slowed market. But what's the issue? And guys, this is basics. I think everybody learned this. Look, I got a high school education from Hesperia, Michigan. Exactly. You don't know where that's at because it's that small. But they taught us about the law of supply and demand. Higher supply, low demand. What happens to prices? They come down. Low supply, high demand. What happens to prices? Up they go. What are we experiencing right now? Low inventory and comparatively a high demand. That ratio of sellers to buyer is narrow, causing prices to go up. Our month supply of inventory, oh, by the way, our median sales price is higher. Last I checked, I believe it was $285 for the real comp MLS. The month supply of inventory, if you've heard this term, I'm going to break it down just very quickly. It says it would take, if we took no other listings, at the rate that we're selling homes right now, we would be out of homes to sell in 2.5 months. It would take us 2.5 months to sell all of the inventory that we have. Now, that's high because we were down to 30 days or less, okay? But it's interesting to know that it's that which is still showing a seller's market. And we can feel that seller's market. The days on market, I was shocked to see this. I did this yesterday, 13 days on market. Average days on market is 13. It's interesting, nobody asked why we take 6-month listings now. Because it doesn't make sense when you see this. Multiple offers. It's commonplace. Take any home that's in balance with the price. If you've been with my education, you know why I put it that way. That home's selling. So, matter of fact, I go back to 1987 when my broker, Bernie Tassin, said, Conley, just remember this. There's a pig for every pen. You just have to put the right price on it. True? We just can't let what our pen is and have it discriminate against anybody else. Because there's pens a lot nicer than ours and pens that are a lot less than ours. But we can't let it get in the way. Buyers are still motivated. They're out there. There are buyers that want to buy at all levels. And of course, I mentioned this, you can't miss the hot summer selling season. I put that in quotes because I think that's important verbiage for you to use for at least these next 4 weeks. You might get a little bit more out of it. But hot summer selling season is something that we need to remember. So what are the issues? I think it is a real key one that we now have to recognize. It used to people could make logical decisions to sell. Logically, for most, it doesn't make sense to sell. They have a 2.8% interest rate. They're going to buy up. Typically, how much more is that? 100, 150, 200,000, could be more, right? They have currently taxes based on a low taxable value because they've owned the home since we came out of and it started to go up. So they were all the way to the basement as low as taxable value could go, and now it's only going up a maximum of 5% per year. So here's what we're seeing. People have this. There's this gap between what their house is actually worth and what it's going to be taxed on and what they're paying taxes on. Now they're going to go buy another house that's $150,000, $200,000 more. What's 200 times, let's use 35. Somebody, I got them doing math here. That's $7,000. Additional in taxes. Did I calculate that right? 200? Yeah, it's an additional 200,000. Well, here, no, it'd be 100,000. So it'll only be $3,500 because the SEV is 1/2 of the value. So they're going to add a minimum of $3,500 to the taxes, probably close to doubling. Logically, it's difficult to help people make the decision to sell. It's what we're dealing with, okay? So it's more often based on the emotional side of things. It's life changes. It's a few of the things that we discussed as to when's the best time to sell. So more often than not, I think it's when they need to sell. They need to upsize. They need to downsize. They need to sell because they can no longer afford the home. They need to sell. Matter of fact, it's because they can't physically take care of the home any longer. There's lots of things that go into it, but I'll tell you, watch more and deal with the emotion and not the logic. It's hard to share or them make a logical decision to sell. It's more of the emotion. Okay? So you got the stage set. You found somebody they talked about making a move. Typically, it's because they need to sell to buy. We need to remember these basic steps. And again, if you've been with me, we know step one is you ask a whole lot of questions. Because until you know what the issue is, until you know what they're praying for, you can't be the answers to their prayers. You're merely guessing at what they need help with. And by the way, when somebody calls you about selling, they're not selling just to sell. There is a reason they're selling. What is the motivation? We've got to get into all of that. So really all those questions and an investigation to find out, in this case that we're talking about, what's holding them back from being able to sell or deciding to sell. What's the issue? Okay? When I find that, fix it. And show them. Too often we're busy telling. And again, I'm dropping little tidbits on how to sell, but be visual. Anything you can tell, you can pretty much show. So show them how you can fix the issue. But remember this, can't always fix it. The logical thing, the right thing for that person would be to stay right where they are. I'm going to say don't be a salespeople and talk somebody into doing something that isn't right. That's not the way that we do business. When you've found it, you've handled it, simply close on the issue. So would that take care of it? Should we go ahead and get you into this new home and get this one on the market? Should we begin whatever it is that we can do to be able to move them forward for the whole reason they were thinking of selling in the first place? And of course, here's the last one I give you. Step 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Key being close at least 3 times. Go back to being a kid. For some of us, that was a long time ago. But go back to being a kid. Remember you asked for the cookie? No was not good enough, was it? You'd ask all kinds of questions, the annoying ones that mom gets upset with. So what are the common concerns? Here's probably the primary one. My interest rate is low and they're high now. What do we discuss? I don't know. I think if you go back to the response pattern, and everybody should remember that, you remember it? That wasn't with certainty. Response pattern. Acknowledge, repeat, and ask another question. Or acknowledge, repeat, or repeat, acknowledge, ask another question. I'll do this. Oh, that's an acknowledgement. Oh yeah, that's, who am I with? I can grunt, right? That's an acknowledgement. It's saying, that's a good point. I'm agreeing with them. You know what? Right now, you said you're at 2.8. That is low in comparison. But if we talk historically, what were normal interest rates? I mean, do you really think that we're going to go back to? I'm asking questions. Do you really think that we're going to go back and see 3s and 4s? So let me ask you, if it did drop to 5, what would you do? It's all in the questions. Where do you see the market going as far as values? Do you see them dropping, or do you think that they're going to increase? And we start nodding our head with the correct answer, right? I can't, and this is the worst part to it. I'm going to tell you, don't think of what to say. Rather, think of what to ask. Let them come up with the reasonable answers. I'm waiting for prices to fall. Guys, are prices going to fall? What? I mean, just think about, with what we started with, what's the first thing that has to happen? Inventory. Inventory's got to increase, or the buyer's got to fall off. Well, if there's a pent-up demand, meaning there's buyers that need housing, that's not likely to happen. And what's going to happen to cause more homes to come onto the market? Not until it starts to do this. Well, how long is that going to take? You know how long people have been waiting for prices to fall? A long time. Yeah, because see, in 2011, it started to go back up, and it's been nothing but a rocket ship going faster and faster. So the likelihood of it dropping, but I don't want to tell them that. I want to ask. Let me ask you, as far as prices falling, when do you see that happening? What do you think would have to happen to cause that? Because as you know, pedestal technique, you've heard of that before. As you know, we have very low inventory, and that ratio of buyers to sellers still has us in a seller's market. Right now, we have a 2.5 month supply of inventory. And that's if no other homes come on the market, we'd be out of homes. By the way, is it good to have that information? Did you realize that homes are selling in 13 days or less? Need those numbers, don't we? We should be looking at all those on a daily basis just to see. Oh yeah, I want to find a new home before I list this one. Anybody have any problem with that? My recent one, I'm going to be putting another one on the market because I had somebody that had the capability of buying before putting their home on the market, which gets them a better deal on up front, and on the back end, they're going to be able to get a higher price because they're not in as big a hurry. I'm okay with that. So as we put it, I can appreciate your position. It makes sense. Wait. Now go find them a home. Find them one quick and help them do all the right things, make the right decisions, so you can get their home on the market. What are the options? That becomes the bottom line. I don't know that what I'm looking for is even available. Guys, what do we have to do? Find out what they want and show them that it's available. But I'd also do this, because you might go, well, let's see, we need a 3-bedroom house, minimum, with 2.5 baths, got to be on 5 acres, up on a hill with a waterfall that comes right from the basement level. How many are going to come up? Now look, if there's 3, great, go show them those 3. And tell them that they can't buy it even if they fall in love with one. What does it tell them they need to do? What if 35 homes come up in the search? The home that you want is available, wouldn't you agree? We have to show them. But on the other hand, I can tell you, I had a buyer from 2010. Darwin, we want to sell the house. Fantastic. Why? So it seems kind of silly. You ever think about it when you ask a seller, why do you want to sell? It's like, why do we care? It's important. We need to know. They said, well, we're empty nesters now. All the kids are gone. And we've got this big 2,600 square foot house in Washington Township. Everybody's starting to go, I got somebody for that. Yeah, and that was the problem. They wanted to downsize. And they wanted something smaller, pay cash, but have the same condition. I probably showed them 10, 12, 15 homes because I used the concept. It was really simple. I probably could have got their home on the market if I wasn't in the mode of me being who I am. But it was like, well, before we put the home on the market, let's find out whether or not we can actually do what you guys are wanting to do this for. And after about, again, 10, 12, 15 homes, it was like, they're not there, Darwin. We can't find what we want to do what it is that we wanted to do. So they're going to hold off for probably another 5 years until the home is totally paid off. It was just the best decision for them to do it. But I had to take them out and show them. Now, it worked out the wrong way for me, but guess what? They'll be back around in the future. We stay in touch. They refer people to me. I make a whole lot more money because I'm doing business the right way, right? Okay. How about I'm waiting for the interest rates to drop? As is everybody else. So when they drop, what's that do to the amount of buyers? Everybody's going to come out. Now, will that put a few more homes on the market? Yes, because there's going to be a few more homes. There are sellers that will be able to sell because the interest rates are low. What's that going to do to the prices? So are you really gaining an advantage? We need to think logically based upon what it is that they're concerned with. But at the same point, what was it? Is David? Is that was his name? What did David tell us today about interest rates and his thoughts? If you're praying for a low interest rate, you're hoping for something bad to go in the world. Because typically interest rates, his point was interest rates follow bad things. So it's kind of like, yeah, man, I'd love to have lower interest rates, but what's the bad thing that you want to happen? Okay. So how low are they going to go? Are we ever going to see 4s or 3s? No, I think we're talking 5s and 6s. That was the norm, right? So, yeah, this is where logically we've got to get people to understand. But there's one simple phrase that you got here, which is marry the home, date the rate. If you're waiting for the interest rates to drop, that makes a lot of sense if you could count on them dropping. But let me ask you this. When was the last year that prices fell? So people have been waiting for a year or 2 years. How much does it cost them right now? 5 to 8% or more each of those years. We had 3 years of double-digit appreciation where people were going, oh, I'm going to get out while the market's good. I'm going to capitalize, wait for the market to stabilize, and then I'm going to buy in then. While they were paying $2,000 a month in rent plus. Marry the home so that you got the lowest rate, or excuse me, the lowest value to buy in at, and then date the rate. We'll change it as the rate changes. We can always refinance. What about how taxes work in Michigan? Now, I think most of us have talked Look, it's a fact. It's going to uncap. That's what I already discussed. They're here and it's going to go up because it uncaps and they're going to buy up to here, which means they're going. It is what it is. You sell a house, you buy a house, deed transfers, property taxes are uncapped. It's why we don't talk about what the taxes are. We talk about what the taxes will be. So they don't get a shock in a year later or less. That's always the funnest conversation to have if you forget to talk about it. Not fun. What will the payment look like? How many of you can calculate a mortgage payment quickly? Yeah, kind of interesting. I think you need to be able to do that because all we need, if we have the proper tool, Logan's looking at it on his phone right now. There are apps out there. I've had one that I've used forever, and it's called the Real Estate Master Qualifier Plus 3X. It's an app. Real Estate Master Qualifier Plus 3X, something of that nature. Hold on a second. Let me take a look at it. I'll tell you real quick. Just go into Play Store or wherever you go to. It is, in simple terms, Real Estate Master 3X. The $5 one, at least that's what it used to be, a $5 app. Beautiful to have on your phone. Because if you know 3 of the 4 things that go into a mortgage payment, all you do is, well, here, somebody says, well, what will my payment be on this one? And let's say it's a $350,000 price, and they're putting 20% down payment. I push loan amount, it tells me their loan amount is $280,000. If they had a 6.5% interest rate over a 30-year term, their payment would be $1,769.79. Okay? I think it's real important for us to be able to do those kind of things for people quickly. Okay? By the way, if I know what the taxes could be estimated to be, and let's say that that was, I don't know, $4,500 in taxes, and let's say their insurance was $1,500, payment $1,769, total would be $2,269. I could even go in and do the amortization on it. It's just fun. It's an easy one to use. Very, very simple. So I think you just need to be able to do that. But the obvious is, we've all said, I don't want to become a mortgage expert. I have partners for that. I have a team of people. I should have a couple of mortgage people that I know I can use. And I will have my mortgage partner call you. Now, hear the flow of that. I'm going to call my mortgage partner. My mortgage partner is then going to call you. I'm not going to ask you to call my mortgage partner. That doesn't happen. Okay? I'm going to have my mortgage partner call you. They're going to guide you as to what your possibilities are. So make sure you know the mortgage rep who's best able to help whoever this individual is and what their circumstances are. What if I can't find a home? Otherwise, they don't want to become homeless. Guys, we are more than happy to take contingent listings with someone who's serious about relocating. If we're going to be able to help them buy, then we'll take a contingent listing. And all it would say is this listing is contingent upon finding or the seller finding suitable housing. But remember, when they get an offer accepted on their house, if they are still not wanting to be homeless, it needs to be addressed on the purchase agreement, that purchase agreement is being accepted contingent upon the seller finding suitable housing. Now, it would probably be a certain time limit. I would probably have had that discussion with the buyer's agent in advance, where we're at, what we're doing. But just remember to make sure it's stated on any purchase agreement they receive on their listing. Are market values going to increase or decrease? And by the way, I put that here because that's the question that you have to ask these people. Ask that question. That is a question to ask. See, It could be to their advantage, could be it wouldn't work to their advantage. Or are they moving up or are they moving down? All of that goes into the point of, is it a logical thing for them to do? But is the motivation logical or is the motivation emotional? See, if I said, you know what, I got two great grands down in Pensacola, Florida, and they ain't moving up here, so I'm going down there. Is that logical? Oh, it's fully emotional. Doesn't matter. You know, another great question to be able to find out. So listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your motivation to make this move? If they go, it's an 8, that's a pretty high and sincere, yeah, I'm going to take a contingent listing if that's what we have to do. Now, there's a few other things that we can look at, and this is it. We talked about bridge loans. I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. But if you really want to do it, and we really don't foresee the market crashing, there's nothing wrong with a bridge loan as long as you can afford the two of them. But you do have a couple of payments now. Something that a good mortgage officer will do, a loan originator, will look at what are all the possibilities. Maybe a bridge loan is not the way to go, but rather to do a refi on their current home with a cash out. Because see, if they cash out all that equity and they can qualify for the 2 payments, that might be a way to do it. It just hit me. Recast. A lot of people won't sell because they got to do this, that, and they want all the equity out of their current home to be able to apply to the purchase of a new home. Well, they recast. Check with your mortgage or your manager in regards to recasting. It just popped in my head as I thought about that. Long-term post-closing occupancy. What's the longest we could go on a new home purchased with a loan? 60 days. Okay, so almost all of them, at least 90% of them, the maximum you're going to do for long-term post-closing occupancy would be 60 days. Okay, but maybe there's a rent back. What's the type of house? Could it be an investor that's going to do it? If they were paying cash, if I was doing seller financing, you know, sale with a lease back is always a possibility until they find something. Here's one we have to remember. It's not just what's on the market, but as a buyer's agent, should you not be searching for properties that aren't even on the market? You don't like prospecting, but here's the best excuse you've got for prospecting. You don't even recognize it as prospecting. I have a buyer looking for, here, I'll take my neighborhood. I have a buyer interested in Lake Oakland Woods who is looking for one of the 2-story homes with either the 3 or the 4 bedroom, and go knock on the doors. Now, the first thing that'll happen is there's a realtor who's coming out and knocking on doors. He's trying to find somebody to sell. Well, thank you. Well, you also give them my name as you pass that along. Go knock on doors. Send out flyers. Let this seller / buyer know what you do to help them find their new home. They might take different steps, different measures, knowing how you're going to go about finding them a home. So what measures do you take? What is your action plan to be able to find a buyer a home? Might make a big difference. Guys, they always got to look at a double move, which means, well, can you move in with a brother or sister, a mom, dad? Could you rent? Could you live in your travel trailer? Stuff I could. I don't know about you. I live in my travel trailer for a short term. I don't know how long my wife could live with me in a travel trailer, but I gotta be careful. She could be on here listening. All right. So here's where I wrap up. Understand what the opportunity is. And it is an opportunity. They could be a seller. And normally if they're a seller, they're also a buyer. Handle both of it, but they're a buyer first in their eyes. The house is just an obstacle that stands in the way. It's an opportunity for you to be able to provide some wonderful service. And it starts with asking questions. We always talk about pre-qualifying. If you don't know what your pre-qualifying questions are, we're going to have some trainings coming up that you can get into all of this. Identify what the real issue is. You can't fix it until you know the issue. You can't fix it until you know the problem. So don't try to be a fixer until you know the issues. What's the first thing the doctor does when you come in not feeling well? No, he just gives you a prescription. He's just guessing. Because you guys, that's what you do if you're not asking the questions. You're just giving them a prescription. Fix it, and remember that it's not always possible. Their situation may be one where we're not going to be able to fix it. But it is good to have everything that we've reviewed today so that you can take a look at what that is. You just can't do it. Just acknowledge it, move on, and know that you've added one more person to your sphere of influence. Stay in touch with them and get the referrals from them. Start with the end in mind. Now, I didn't cover this in the first time, but where could I take them? I'm going to ask questions to see whether or not they've considered. I got an idea that maybe they think interest rates are going to drop down to 4. Ask questions to find out where they're at. Because I can have a conversation that will help them understand that's not going to happen. And if it does, it's another miracle, because those were just fantasy rates that happened to come true. And of course, we know that we need to expect the no, but they just need to know more. I don't know if you ever heard of that. That was an old Zig Ziglar one, Mike, right? When you hear no, they're not saying no to you. They're just saying no based upon the information that they have currently. If they know more with a K and a W, then that's when they're going to be able to make the right decisions. So I'm going to leave it from there. As always, guys, finish the way we started. Go talk to people. Continue to build upon your knowledge. Continue to build upon your skills. Next week, we'll be in Rochester. And I would ask you to spread the word. As much as you may or may not like it, we need to talk fair housing. It's ever changing, and we always need to be aware of the differences. So feel free to join us if you're anywhere close to Rochester next week. That's going to be our location. It'll be on fair housing. If you want an hour of continuing education credit, it will apply for that as long as you're either with us there in Rochester or we can see your face. If you blip out for a moment, no credit, but it'll be for 1 hour Con Ed. So gang, have a great one. See you next week.